All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Systems of Wealth podcast. I am your host, Noah Kronfly, and today I am joined by a very special guest, someone that I've gotten to build some systems with, see operate at a very close, in a close proximity, and I think, and for my money, has the best game or best beard in the game at
Oh,
this
thank you.
point. It is Mr. Clint Hosman. Clint, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
I really, really appreciate it. And just right off the bat, I just wanted to say thank you for like allowing me to be close and just watch how you build. I wanted to say thank you for being you. It's always just like, it's one of those where I see your appointment on my calendar and I'm like, oh, I get to talk to Clint today. It's so exciting. So again,
Nice.
thank you for being you, man.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. So I wanted to just start by like, when people ask you like what you do, what your official title is, what do you usually say?
Oh boy. Because I mean, sheesh. You're supposed to have like your elevator
Yeah.
pitch
Right.
down, right?
Yeah,
And it's a loaded question.
for sure.
And for me, it's I will based off of who I'm talking to, because
Yes.
what we do with Longship Systems and the company my wife and I run, we're doing the back end automation. We're putting together CRMs, we're building workflows for mortgage teams, for real estate agents, for education specialists, for fitness influencers. Uh, we're all over the place. Like there
Yeah.
is no specific niche that we occupy other than we specialize in taking the ideas that are in an entrepreneur's brain, putting it into software so
Mm,
that it can then scale, right?
yes. Ooh, very
So
nice.
when somebody asks, "Hey, what do you do?" and I'm like, and if I know them, if they're employed by somebody, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you operate in a CRM, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we build those for small to medium-sized businesses.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Starts to make
Um,
sense. Yeah.
Start to make sense. If they are an entrepreneur and they
Uh-huh.
run a business, then it's I can have a much more in-depth conversation.
Of course. That totally makes sense. Cause like I like starting asking that question because I always find it difficult to answer too. Cause when like I say like for same sort of thing, like for maybe someone that is maybe not as that's like uninitiated to like the digital
There you go.
space. I just say like I'm a marketing and operations consultant. Like that's always what I've
There you go.
said. It's very simple, but like if I get into like, yeah, like I build Zapier systems and I like building landing pages, people are like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
I can see people's eyes just like
Yeah.
kind of,
And I'm like, oh boy, I screwed it up again. Cause I don't
yeah.
have the like dialed on like, elevator pitch or anything like that either. But
Well,
so
in that spirit, though, we do have a tagline. I mean, we'll say, well, what do you do? We help entrepreneurs define, design, and execute their ideal client journey.
ooh, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. And so, in that kind of, if I'm in a mastermind or I'm working around other entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
then that resonates because they're like, oh yeah, I feel like there's no clear definition of how I deliver my service. Okay, cool.
Yes.
We can help you define that.
Right.
We'll design the execution, but we go a step further. And in our space, let's just generically call it the consulting space, right?
Yes. Right.
There's two types of consultants. There's the type I've been doing this motion a lot lately. Nothing sexual. It's just I don't know why, but here it goes. On one side of the aisle, you got people that will tell you what you should be
Right.
doing,
Yep.
but they won't actually lower themselves to do it.
Correct.
On the other side of the aisle, you got a bunch of people that will do it, they'll
Hmm.
build it, but you don't necessarily want their opinion on what the best practice is. It's just
Interesting.
connect dot A to dot B,
Wow.
please.
Yeah.
Longship Systems, we occupy a space in between. Right? I've been doing this for over a decade now. We've worked with everybody in the business from, uh, geez, I think Church of Scientology, Kelly Starrett, Ready State Fitness,
What?
Frank Kern.
Yep.
We've implemented for literally everybody,
Crazy, dude.
digital marketer. So we've seen the back end of everything,
Yeah.
but we're occupying, not only are we consulting with them on, we'll like take somebody like Kern,
Hmm.
where he knows what the hell he's
Of
doing,
course.
right? But he doesn't have the time
Time.
to know
Yep.
all of the software to do
Right.
it. And so they'll come to an agency such as ourselves, and then we understand not only the strategic, but the technical language for the team.
Wow. Wow. That's a really good distinction, by the way. Like, well, there's two things that I think you said there. It's like one, the the entrepreneurs, like everybody's got an idea. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but being able to like get that out of your head and execute and see it come to life, like that's part of, I mean, who brought us together, Scott Chang. If anybody hasn't listened to that podcast,
Yeah.
definitely go back and listen to that. But that was kind of like my thing with Scott was like, he's got ideas, but like I'm here to make it real and actionable. And this is like actually doing it and building it and seeing it come to life. That is what always has spoke to me. And I knew that like from the moment that I met you, I was like, oh, our brains are very like a line cut from the same
Yeah.
thread of like being a systems and operator and being on the behind the scenes. But the other thing that you said that like some entrepreneurs are almost like allergic to work or think that like it's a bad thing
Right.
to like trade time for money or to like to do that. But like you got to get your hands dirty. I mean, if you want to be like good at what you're doing, you got to have that execution.
Well, as long as you don't agreed. Yes. And then I'd go a little bit further,
Yeah.
it's you have to understand at a conceptual level,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
A lot of entrepreneurs, they'll, if it's not your genius, it's not what you should be working on, right? Like if you take somebody,
Right.
probably one of the best examples of workflow compartmentalization with it's Kelly Starrett, the Ready State.
Okay. Yeah.
Like we worked with them for 3 years and they had launched their new app and then had some issues with that. And so we came back together and worked together after they had launched. Dude, Kelly did Kelly. He's a PA. He's a genius when it comes to working with the human body and, you know, squeezing the best performance and getting people rehabbed.
Right. That's a superpower.
Superpower. You don't want to bother him with the nuance of email copy and workflows. Like it's just, so he stayed out of that conversation. He had his trusted advisor, the people that he had built the team around him, they handled that so that he could stay focused on what he's good at, right? What he likes.
Right.
A lot of entrepreneurs, they want to be good at everything. It's like, I'm good at this one thing, ergo, I'm good at all of the things.
Yeah. Right.
No, not necessarily. and so it's like, if the ones that are really successful, the CEO of Infusionsoft, now called Keep, his name is Clayton Mask. He had said something years ago that has always stuck with me. He said, entrepreneurship is the process of learning to let go.
Wow.
I'm like, that's legit. So it's the people that are most successful at scaling their business are the ones that learn to let go of the components that don't require them.
Wow. Yeah.
And the resources or software to replace them in specific instances so that they can scale.
Yeah, I heard I think it was Ryan Dice said this on an interview that I was listening to. He said like so many people think of like scaling as like hiring or delegating the things that like you're not good at. And he's like, what is true difficulty when it comes to scaling is like hiring out the things that like you are good at. He's like, I want to run ads, I'm good at running ads, but like that's not the best, highest leverage use of my time at this point when I am trying to grow and scale my company.
Yeah, that's right. Like for me, the biggest joy that I get out of what we do is I love the conversation. Like if I'm working on a project with somebody, so my wife, Sarah, she does all the front end conversations, the sales, the marketing, like she loves talking to people. She gets energized out of large group interactions. Whereas me, I'm going to go way too deep on the details, and I try and edit myself, but I'm like, I'm sitting there going, okay, if that has true, then I have to, and nobody got time for that. It's a serious sales killer.
Right.
So when I'm working with somebody and we're first starting to talk about what it is that they want to do, I don't even talk about software.
Okay.
I just start asking questions.
Yeah.
And it's the questioning that is the fun part for me.
Right.
It's like we can talk about what the appropriate solution is later. Like, what is it that you want to go? Where do you want to see yourself in? Where does this end up in 5 years, 10 years? Are you looking to sell your business? Are you looking to hire people? Do you want to hire people? Do you want a large team? If you don't want a large team, then that's going to expand our, that narrows or expands the software solutions we have.
Right.
And so kind of getting a feel for them and where they're at, and then learning to present answers to the individual in a way that they are primed to accept it. So it's a lot of times what will happen is, because a solution is presented in a language that they don't get,
Yep.
then they're closed off to it.
Total disconnect. Yeah.
Total disconnect, right? And so it's been a long process, and I'm still learning it,
Of course.
and trying to figure out how do they need to hear this
Yeah.
so that I can get them to where they want to go.
Right.
Because as entrepreneurs, oftentimes we are our biggest impediment.
100%. Right.
And it's like, it just doesn't work for us because there's only so many hours in a day. And
right.
I mean, I'm 44 now, and it feels like the days are even shorter than they've ever been. I'm like,
yeah.
I'll get at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I get done? How is this going by so fast?
Yeah, right.
And so learning to just let go of those components and trust it to somebody else, key.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting too, because I think like from an entrepreneur might hear something about a software, a system, and be like, this is going to solve all my business problems. And I'm going to come and be like, can't you just implement this and just do it for me? It's going to solve all my problems. And it's like, well, let's slow down a little bit and let's dissect why you want this kind of end goal. Because I have that same issue, is like, I get really deep into the technicalities of it because I'm in it so much. I speak the language. It excites me. It makes sense to me, but like, that isn't necessarily the right way to frame that for somebody that is trying to come in. So that's really, dude, like, again, I knew this would be a fun conversation, but like, so you're saying you've been, is Longship at this point like a decade old?
No. So Longship is 5 years old now.
Okay.
We started, we as in me and the mouse in my pocket, Sarah and I, I was in school. I was actually racing mountain bikes professionally.
Really?
And
All right.
And working on a master's degree and working at a call center doing sales.
Cool.
So had a lot of hats. And Sarah, first time we met, she was like, what, 19, 20. And she goes, the usual conversation. What do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, I want to be an insurance person. I want to have my own insurance agency. And I'm all, that's the weirdest shit I've ever heard out of a 20-year-old woman. Okay. Right. Fast
You're
forward
mine. You're a keeper.
That's right. Fast forward 8-9 years, and she's a MetLife agent, right?
Okay.
And she's building her book of business.
Yep.
They provide a CRM of sorts, really not that great.
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking for different solutions. Well, we come across Infusionsoft, which coincidentally is like 3 miles down the road from us.
Okay.
Here in Arizona.
Yep.
And we get it because, it does hypothetically the thing we say we want to do.
Yeah.
But at that point, they didn't do any onboarding. They didn't do any coaching. It's just, here's your box of Legos, enjoy.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. 3 months of staring at that, like a couple of monkeys staring at a math problem, making us question, like, we're smart people, right? Like, what's going on? And finally, we got it to do a couple of basic things. All right. So then fast forward a couple, it was barely even a year, and I completed a master's program, and I'm looking for a real job. Mm-hmm. And Infusionsoft is hiring.
Okay.
And so that was 11 years ago.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. And so went and started working there.
Sweet.
Was employee 169, and
wow.
Then
dude.
Left 2 years later. They were over 600 employees.
Man.
And I got hired at an agency called Sixth Division. That's where I met Scott.
Okay. Yes.
So I was their first full-time employee. I was the director of client services there. Helped hire, train a team. We took it from a $1 million revenue service business to a $5 million company in 4 years.
Man.
Great team. That's where, got made tons of connections. I mean, anybody who was working inside of Infusionsoft, they'd come to us.
Right.
And dude, I mean, we saw the back end of, I'm telling you, like Church of Scientology, to a guy who referred to himself as a goat pimp because his entire business was hiring out herds of goats to clear government properties of foliage. Like multi-million-dollar business on the East Coast.
Amazing.
And like, where are people coming up with these weird ass ideas for businesses?
Right.
And so at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do my own thing then.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
so,
Okay.
yeah, 5 years ago, July, just last 2 months ago, we started.
Dude,
So
congratulations. That's so cool.
thanks.
Because
Yeah.
I had a similar this was 2 years ago from me. I like because my original skill that I learned was Facebook ads. Like I knew how to run paid ads online. That was kind of the first thing that I learned.
Yep.
And then pandemic times happened and my agency, whatever you want to call it, that was running basically like dried up overnight, essentially.
Yep.
Scott was really the only person that kept me like on board. Like he stuck with me through all that. And introduced me to a lot of his network and just like kept me working. But I went from paid ads to learning landing pages and funnel design. And then I learned like, oh, there's a conversion event on a landing page and then there's email sequences. And like at that time, I just remember thinking like, I just want to know the behind the scenes of how like a 7-figure online business works. Like I want to know behind the scenes because I had, been inundated by like the Russell Brunsons and like, these guys that are, have all these ads online that make it seem like it's so easy to like build these
Oh
businesses. And I'm like,
yeah.
why can't I figure this out? And I think like I didn't realize like how much of it of like, oh, in order to grow and scale at that point, like they're not doing it on their own. They have a team behind them. Like there's no
Right.
way that they're doing it on their own. That was like news to me. But also like I knew that there was inner workings and like I didn't realize that like, oh, this is what people call systems and operations and automations and being able to implement and do that stuff. And so it took me on a wild hunt of figuring that out. And like I did have the opportunity to, implement and build a lot of that with a business partner. Unfortunately, that business is no longer around. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
story for
This
another day.
happens.
Yeah,
Yep.
it happens. So when you like, how was that transition from working full time to go in and doing your own thing? Like, did you, all right, I'm going to do this and you jump on it? Did you like, I waited 6 months because I was so nervous to make that jump? Like, what did that transition look like or feel like for you?
It felt fucking awful.
All
I'll be
right.
honest with you.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate
Yeah.
the
It
transparency. Yeah.
yeah. It
You hear that, everybody? It sucks and it's hard.
okay. So for yes, is it worth it though?
Oh,
At one,
100%.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
1,000%
no
a thing,
question.
right? Like
Yeah, no
it is
question.
a thing. Like
Yeah.
it's completely worth it. So
Yes.
um, I will say that the split from me with my former employer, Sixth Division, was not.
Mhm.
It was a one-sided split.
Okay.
They came and said, "Hey, we hired somebody to replace you. You can stick around, but we're not going to keep paying you what we're paying you."
Okay.
All right.
So, yeah.
So I said, "Fuck you.
See ya.
I'm gonna do my own thing,
Yeah.
for
Good for
better or
you.
worse." Right?
Yeah.
Well, it
Well,
could have turned out shitty, right?
yeah, 100%.
Who knows? Now, that being said, me and those guys were great.
Awesome.
Like
Nice.
they're awesome. Like
Yeah.
learning to split up
Yeah.
amicably is
Oof.
that's a skill set. And it wasn't me who made amends. Like
Right.
it was they are super solid people.
Awesome. Nice.
Can't say enough good things about them. And so me leaving wasn't per se my choice. It was my choice, right? But in my head, and this is the thing, it's the majority of, and this is my opinion, right? Take it for what it's worth.
Hmm.
The majority of the pain, emotional pain that we feel around stuff like that is all self-induced.
Mm.
So I walked out of there. I was running a team of 5 people. Everything was in my head was great,
Right.
and in my head, we were on track to do these amazing things. And
Yep.
it probably coincidental, didn't hurt much that it was right in line with the time for a good midlife crisis, anyways. So I left the first month on our own. Scott being one of the people that made this possible,
Hmm.
I instantly made more money in the first month than I had ever made any month up to that point.
Wow, dude.
It was great, like because of the
Wow.
people I knew and like the
Yeah.
connection, the network that I had. Like people
Yes.
just like, "Oh, you're on your own. Please
Yes.
take my money. I know who you are.
Please.
I know what
Of
you do."
course. Yeah.
Okay. However, in my head, like things weren't okay,
Interesting.
right? Because not to get too metaphysical with it, but the vision that I had of myself in the world was just screwed
Gone.
over.
Yeah. It's like your
And now
identity is tied in that. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I was a team leader. I was part of a team. Now I am entrepreneur and responsible for finding, hunting, killing, bringing home everything that we do.
Yeah.
And so those first few months, I'd say the first 6 months, I dropped 30 pounds,
Okay.
developed a sweet case of insomnia,
Wow.
sex drive like tanked, everything. Okay. On paper, Noah, everything was better. I was making more money than I ever had. I had more autonomy and freedom to do whatever the F I wanted.
Yep.
And yet, like this thing had built up, right?
Wow.
And so, yeah, everything's going along, but you get into this mindset of like, I need to be selling, I need to be delivering, I
Yeah.
need to do this, and I'm
Yeah.
failing at all of it. Now, if somebody had, and my wife at the time would do a good job of balancing each other out. At the time, Sarah's like, in a nice way, like, everything's cool.
Yeah. Kind of crushing
We
it.
we got this,
Yeah.
right? And she was still doing her insurance business at the same
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
She's like, we got this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going on about.
Right.
And the best way that I can say to describe it is, so we had talked about this before the recordings happened, is I'm going to sidetrack for just a second. So bear with
Please.
me.
No. Yeah.
I'm an avid hunter. So our
Mhm.
logo, Longship, that's Gerald. He's an elk here in Arizona that we hunted. He's actually living up on our wall
There he
over
is.
here.
Yes. That's what I'm used to seeing when we talk.
And that's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Yes. He says hi. And so he became the mascot for our company. All right. So I was out hunting, not Gerald, but the year that I had separated
Yep.
from 6th Division, and I'm by myself. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, and I'm actually hunting deer, not
Okay.
elk.
Yep.
And I'm watching this canyon wall. There's a canyon dividing us from the other side, maybe 200 yards separation. I'm on one side, canyon's on the other.
Mhm.
It's pretty clear. There's a few junipers, pretty steep.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there staring at it like anybody who thinks hunting is going to be super exciting, buckle up. It's not. It's
So,
like
a
hours
lot of
of
sitting and
boredom,
waiting.
lot of sitting around and looking.
Right.
And I'm sitting there watching the side of the canyon, and I kind of look this way, and I swear I hear something move, come back. I have binoculars, and I'm looking through the binoculars.
Yeah.
There. Kind of turn away. I hear something again. I turn back, and I'm like, fuck, what's going on? No, nothing's there. I sit there for a solid 2 hours. I stand up. I move maybe 50 yards to my left.
Okay.
As soon as I get my back turned, I hear this crash out of the side, out of the canyon where I'd been looking. There was a big ass bull elk hiding behind this tiny juniper. And because of my angle of sight, I didn't see him.
Oh,
He was
wow.
completely invisible to me.
Wow.
He knew I was there,
Of course,
but he was just waiting until I turned my back and was going the other way. And he's like, I'm out of here. So he bolted off, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, right.
And I missed it because I didn't have the right perspective. I missed it because I had the wrong angle on the problem.
Yeah.
Right. So the problem is I'm looking for animals to eat. There's an animal to eat right behind that tree, right in front of me. But because I'm not moving, I'm not changing my perspective on the problem.
Yeah.
And so I see nothing but obstacles.
Sheesh.
And so I equate that to starting our own business. It's like you get so locked in
Right.
on the roadblocks, and that I've got to solve this. I've got to solve this. I've got to solve this. And that shit just like, it keeps turning.
Yeah.
It keeps turning. It keeps turning.
Yep.
All the while, you don't realize there's opportunity right in front of you.
Yeah.
And on top of it, in my instance, bringing it back to me starting Longship, everything was great. But because I had the wrong perspective on what was going on, my perspective was, I'm a victim. I got done wrong.
Wow.
Now I have to kind of figure it out. Poor me.
Yeah.
That I never saw the blessings that it actually was.
Wow.
Right. And so now when I try to be as open and honest about entrepreneurship as I possibly can. And so for a long time, people will be like, so what's it like? Like, how was it scary? I'm like, yeah, it's fucking terrifying, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I dropped 30 pounds.
Yeah.
My sex drive dipped. I'm not sleeping. And then I also, with some time, things started getting good. And so now when people ask me, but I felt obligated to tell people how tough it was,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because that is not what the mainstream sort of idea or like people's perspective. Yeah, like we get
Right.
this flawed idea of what it is.
Yay, I'm gonna
I'm my own
be,
boss and I get to create my own schedule and I have total freedom and this and that. And it's a, fairy dream.
yeah,
And it's like, I've sat at my computer and had tears in my eyes as I was like working on campaigns. Like that
right.
is totally normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it, at the same time with that, there's also a reverse of it, right? The reverse is I'm my own boss.
Yep.
I am making good money.
Right.
I have freedom.
Right.
And so it's the same coin,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
But which part of the problem or which part of the coin do I choose to talk about?
Interesting.
And so, and I always, if I ever did the fluffy stuff, I always felt like I was being dishonest with the
Yeah.
person.
Right.
And I'm like, no, it's not that I'm being dishonest. It's that what is it that I'm choosing to highlight?
Hmm.
And what is it that I'm choosing to focus on? And does that paint an accurate picture?
Wow.
And so for me now, it's when people are like, well, what's it like? I'm like, going back to the original, the thing that I enjoy, the biggest thing I enjoy about being on doing what I do
Mm-hmm.
is figuring out what somebody needs to hear and how they need to hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, what does this person need to hear right now when they just ask that? Why are they asking that question?
Yeah.
And so that does determine the answer that I give.
Right.
It's if it's somebody who just needs to get motivated, then it's going to be motivation. If somebody who needs to hear the realistic point of view on it can kind of suck,
Yeah.
then that's the point that I choose to highlight. But
Nice.
as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's like, what part of your life do you choose to focus? Or what do
Wow.
you choose to keep highlighted in your brain?
Right.
And that if you focus on the obstacles and you focus on the negative, then that's the way it is. That's
Yeah.
you could be living the best life possible, and
That's
you're
really cool,
still going to
man.
find something to bitch about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Like in my, long extensive career of being 25 years old and working on this stuff for 5 years
is
now.
that it? Are you
Yeah.
only 25?
I'm 25.
I thought you were older.
Yeah. Well, I
Not for
started.
what that's worth.
Yeah. No, I mean, I started like learning ads when I was 19 and Facebook ads was like popular at the time.
Hmm.
It was definitely around, but it had no, like, it was not what it is, what it was the last couple of years and what it is today.
What it was.
What it was exactly. So, but I think something that I picked up really early on was the answers that I'm looking for are not necessarily like always gonna, I mean, a lot of it doesn't really come from that external sort of like environment. Like I need, like, my answers are searching internally within, and finding that clarity and confidence internally gives me the peace to make the decisions that really maybe only make sense to me, or that I see, or that I need to like actually do.
Can I pause you there for a second?
Please. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that one, I don't know where you stand on religion, church, spirituality, anything like
Well,
that.
my name is Noah. My middle name is Joseph. So like that's a big part of my foundation. But yeah, like, we don't.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
this should resonate.
Yeah.
And again, this is going to be what I'm about to say is probably really easy to take out of context.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Um, the entrepreneur book self-help space,
Yeah.
I don't know that if there is a bigger circle jerk on planet Earth.
Hmm.
It's all of these ideas. Here's what you need to be doing, bro. Here's how
Yeah.
you should be doing it, bro. Hey,
Right.
man, you just need to get motivated. You know why birds are the only animals that can fly? Because they believe in themselves the most.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
it's all fucking bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like you start listening to all these voices coming at you, and you
Yeah.
start thinking of what I should be doing.
Right.
When I start getting kind of confused in that regard, like start looking at decisions, and you're like, "Whoa, this one, that one."
Right.
I have to stop listening to everything.
Hmm.
I literally stop listening to every other voice.
Clear the deck. Yep.
Clear the deck. And I am a firm believer. I'm Christian. I believe in the Holy Ghost, and like JC says at the Last Supper, he said, "Hey, I'm going to leave you, but the Holy Ghost will come in my name. He's going to teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance."
Yep.
I have faith that there is a spirit, there is a guide that will teach me what I need to know.
Yes.
Shut out the voices.
Yep.
And like get right with that.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose to call that.
Yep.
But I am a firm believer that there is a voice, a spirit, a conscience, a whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
And if I'm not being honest to that source within me, then I'm going to get confused.
Yeah. What do you do to like listen to, I mean, Perry Marshall calls it like, the memo from the head office or the muse. Like, do you meditate? Do you do like, like I write in the morning to kind of listen to that? What does that look like for you?
A lot of different things. So it's, for me, there's a few things. Number one is probably working out.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. You and me both.
Yeah. I freaking love the gym.
Yeah.
I can block out, I can focus on a point in what it is that I'm doing.
Yep.
So having gym time, I like my gym friends. I don't invite other people to work out with me. Like I wake up at 4 a.m.
Right.
I get it knocked out before my kids wake up.
You do?
All
right.
Wife wakes up.
Yeah.
Like, this is me, cell phones off, I'm working out.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is a Wim Hof.
Yep.
Familiar with
breathing. Yep.
I do a lot of Wim Hof every morning. I'll go through about 10-15 minutes of Wim Hof. So it's kind of meditation, right? I try and meditate on it. I also use, when I'm doing Wim Hof, are you familiar with Psycho-Cybernetics, the book?
Yeah, I haven't totally finished that book all the way, but I know there's a mentorship that I was part of a couple years ago that harped on that book so much.
Dude, if I wish I would have read that book sooner.
Wow. All right, cool.
I read it when I started Longship.
Yep.
And so taking those visualization cues in how you project, and I mix that with Wim Hof. Nice. And then I've been a lifelong journal writer.
Yep, of course.
Typing it doesn't work for me.
I don't know. Like, I'm the same way. I have mine operating with me at all times. Like, I can't do it any other way. Like, I like to use the calendar, and like the technology there is great, but like it's something about, because I do the same thing. I write a page in my journal, and this is like writing out everything I'm doing that day. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And so those three things in the meditation, prayer, Wim Hof, like I kind of roll that into one.
Yeah.
And then if I'm really struggling with something, then I just need to totally disconnect and be alone in the mountains.
Okay.
Like that's one of the big things for me with hunting is everything's out. There's no cell phones. No. There's no people. Like I generally hunt solo. I'll go with friends and stuff like that. But this is a me thing. And I can only do, like, I don't like, my kids are still small. I have a 13-year-old, 10-year-old, and 7-year-old.
Okay. Yeah.
And so about 3 days out by myself, that's about as long as I go.
Okay. Yep. That's a good, that's a good amount of time though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's kind of the big one. And of course with us, it's because you add another layer on top of it, which is we're a husband and wife team running a business.
Yeah.
Like, there be dragons there, tread lightly. Like it's tough. It's tough.
Let's talk about it. Like, like, what is that? How do you, like, so you said that she is managing your guys' front end, like the sales and marketing.
Yep.
Okay. Is it like, it is just you guys? Like, you are the builder? Like, you're not?
We are the owners. So we have a team. We have, I do, me working with Scott, because it's like, I have my OG clients that I always,
of course. Yeah. That's how I feel about like the guys that have retained me at this point as well. It's like, you guys are the reason that I am here, that I get to do a lot of this stuff. So like, you get my priority 100%.
Yeah. So it's going to take way too long for me to explain some stuff that I've been working on with somebody for a decade. Right.
Right.
There's no way. So we have 2 coaches.
Okay.
One is local here in Arizona. Another one is in Idaho.
Okay.
And guy in Idaho, story brand consultant as well. So
nice.
Sarah pulls in the project. And then based off of where everybody's at workload, she divvies it out to either one of our coaches.
Okay.
And then we have a team in the Philippines that does the drag and drop, like the stuff that is really time consuming. We have a team of Filipino ninjas that just
nice.
They're the best. And so that's all of us. So how did we get there? We've been married, Sarah and I have been married for 22 years.
All right. Congratulations.
This month. Thank you.
Love it.
And I can't tell my wife shit, bro.
She's the boss.
Well, she's the oldest of 4, and she's got 3 brothers, and she's going to do what she's going to do.
Yeah.
And turns out I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Right. And so I knew, like, Longship, fast forward, so we go back in time, started it. We're 6 months deep into this thing, and I'm busier than I know what to do with. Right. Like, I'm drowning in work, which is, again, boo-hoo.
Yeah, not the terrible problem to have. Yeah, of course.
I'm so sad.
Yeah.
And
gotta say no to work. Isn't that how weird is that, by the way? Like, when you're first doing that is the strangest, like, to say no to income coming in. You're like, what am I doing?
Well, and the problem is I didn't say no, and which only amplified it. I'm like, I gotta get it, because I'm locked in scarcity mindset.
Right.
I'm dying and I need somebody's help.
Yes.
But I know, not that I didn't want her help, but I know that if I floated it as, hey, babe, this insurance practice you've been working on for the last, I don't know, 6, 7 years, 8 years, do you want to quit that and start working with me? Like, that ain't gonna happen, bro. Like, she will dig her heels in, and she will insurance harder. Right. So I'm like, that's
a great term.
And but I'm dying, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure something out. And it was February of 2018. 1st of February, she goes, you know, I was thinking, yeah, because we're sharing an office. She goes, I'm thinking, you know, I think we could make way more money if I just stopped the insurance.
Yeah.
And helped you with Longship. And I'm all,
it's a great idea.
In my head, I'm all, don't blow this. Don't blow this.
This is it.
And so I was all, oh yeah. Please God, please. Because at that point I was committed. I'm not going to get a partner. Like, I'm not bringing anybody else into this equation.
Nice.
I'm here. I'll take it.
Right.
And so maybe 4 or 5 days later, you know, I talked to so-and-so about buying my book of business. Don't blow it. And then finally, like, she goes through the motions. This is all her idea. She's doing it.
Okay.
I'm trying to have as little impact on the decision as possible, because I know that if I influence it, then it's not, like, she needs to be the catalyst. I respect her autonomy. We are a team, 100%.
Nice. Awesome.
But she has to make that decision.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with it if it's not the decision I make.
Right. It's the only way that, like, that has longevity in that over the long term, is that she's making that decision on her own accord.
Yeah. And now that's to say, like, we don't operate like that in our whole life. Like, we go home and we have specific duties and things that we've allocated, and we're doing it, right?
100%.
So finally, in February, she finalizes selling her book of business off to another agent. She comes and she goes, that's it, it's done. And I was like, okay, thank God. Thank you. I have been dying. I'm drowning. I have, like, I need your help. She's like, why didn't you say anything? I'm all, babe.
Yeah.
You know why I didn't say anything. Now, still a pain in the ass. Right. And so if there's any married entrepreneur couples working, my advice, there's 2 things that I advise heavily. Number 1, schedule your fights.
Wow. Okay.
So you're actually interrupting fight night as we speak.
What?
Every Friday at noon is fight night.
Oh man.
Fight day, where we have our, this is what we're doing conversation.
Right.
And we're both strong-willed, heavily opinionated people. And so we've gotten better at learning how the other one needs info presented.
Okay.
And so scheduling, like, if it's like, we aren't talking about that shit outside of this time.
Yes. Right.
So we know that there's a time allocated,
Mhm.
but we're not getting distracted in the meantime with all the other stuff that has to get done.
Wow. Yeah.
And so just knowing that that's coming,
Hmm.
buddy.
Nice.
And then shared notes on our iPhones.
Interesting. Cool.
Like if there's a topical thing that, like a heavier, even to lighter conversations,
Yeah.
where we just have a running dialogue where each of us has time to think about the answer
Hmm.
and respond in kind.
Cool.
And so I have not done, like, especially when you bring in team members, it's like, and I have people like, so is this a marriage fight or is this a work conversation? I'm all, there is no difference. It's all the same. But bringing somebody else into that conversation, it's like, and we've not always done a great job of that.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. And
There's
so
something that that I heard last year that said there's no such thing as business problems. There's only personal problems that show up in your business.
I think that's fair,
Thought that was
because
interesting.
you
Yeah.
take um, the two biggest fights you're going to have, probably, I think, with your spouse or your significant other, sex and money.
Money. Yep. Bingo.
So now you're going to take those. Well, hopefully your business isn't sex, though. Whatever. No
It is.
judgment.
Yeah. No judgment.
But you're going to take that conversation and you're going to, it's like, okay, I'm at home and you have a job, I have a job, then we have our
Mhm.
home and we're balancing our checkbooks and goals.
Yes. Right.
Okay, great. Now you're going to take that problem, which is massive, just on a normal day, and now you're going to multiply it out to your business.
Hmm.
And that has the potentiality of getting really ugly really fast.
Right. Like the compound and yeah, what that could, yeah, for sure. Wow.
And so in addition to just scheduling our
Hmm.
fights, we make somebody else the bad guy. So for us, the bad guy is the bookkeeper and the accountant.
Okay.
I'd love you to buy, she can come to me and say, hey, I'd love to give you another chunk of cash to go buy a bike.
Right.
The accountant says, no,
Yeah, can't do it.
can't do it.
That's great.
And so take, like, if you're a married, well, everybody should have a bookkeeper and an accountant, but
Yeah,
if you're
right.
a married couple running a business, knowing that the fight is going to be a large chunk of fighting is going to be about finances,
Interesting. Yeah.
just outsource that shit, bro. Like, send it to
Nice.
somebody else, let them handle it, and let them be the bad guy. And we tell our bookkeeper and our accountant, like, you're the bad guy.
You're
Sorry.
the bad guy. Yeah. Sorry. They knew they got to know that that's what they're signing up to. Like,
That's right.
yeah, they got to know that. Okay. So there's like 2 or 3 things that I really want that, like, out of this, that I'm super curious about. First one is, like, can we just talk about, like, the model of Longship? Like, how do you guys price? Are you guys, like, structured as kind of like, I'm prioritizing like a retainer model as an agency? Is it kind of like one off based on the project that's coming in? How do you guys manage that?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And how is it evolved over time? Because obviously when people are coming, when you're first getting started and you're like, I need money in the door, like, it made sense to me to prioritize the retainers, but then I found myself sort of getting capped with, like, people are coming in and they're buying me and my time, and I can only scale me so much. And so now, as I went through, like, that process of, building kind of the 6-figure business, and now 7 figures and beyond, is like, I need to have a repeatable, sort of almost like productized service that I can then deliver. And that's sort of what I'm going through right now, and I'm struggling with a little bit. But yeah, I would love to hear just like your experience with how that's evolved.
So because I had a phenomenal model coming into this,
Mm-hmm.
I think a good chunk of our stress around it was taken out from the beginning.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we do a balancing act of project and retainer.
Love it. Repeatable, recurring revenue that gives you some stability and security, and still, yeah, some flexibility in the projects. Yeah.
I mean, our project prices on the low end go from 3K up to like 15.
Yep.
And so, I mean, you want to feel good about yourself, watch like a $20,000 deposit come through.
Yeah, dude.
Like, whoa,
yeah, that's
like
magic.
yeah, it's magic.
Yeah.
Right. It turns out that money goes away, and and you're left. You're like, wow, what do I do now?
This is like, that's the weird thing is like, man, this feel like a chunk of money, but like it's not as much as I thought it was going to be or feel like. That is so
I
funny.
know. Well, and we're designed as animals to, like, it's always the next hit. It's a drug. It's a drug. Let's
100%.
just be honest, right?
We're addicted to this. Yeah,
we are.
Yeah.
And so, have you ever read the book Habits of a Happy Brain?
No.
Oh, jeepers.
That's a new one.
I have it here. I can't remember. I'm going to it because I can't remember her name. Loretta Grunzab. There you go.
Perfect.
Dude.
Yeah,
and I should.
Habits of okay.
Phenomenal.
Cool. Okay.
Phenomenal. But it's all about like, hey, your mammalian instinct is to see threat and be rewarded.
Yeah.
And you identify it. And
nice.
You're going to get a dopamine hit when you hit a project. But turns out now you need a larger thing. And a larger thing, because now, like, I look back on what we do now on a month. If I had done 5 years ago what I did in August, I would have walked around with a boner for an entire year, right? Like, I'd be like, I am amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Wouldn't even believe that. Like, yeah, you could do something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
ain't no thing.
Right. Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah.
I'm kind
on
of
to the
sad
next
about
one.
that. It's like, but if you just realize that that's the way your brain works.
That is really interesting.
And so for us, it is a mix. And it's one of these things where it's sometimes your project slow, retainer heavy.
Okay.
Right now we're in the opposite, where we've got to rebuild our retainer book of business because we had so many projects.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's been a healthy mix of both.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah. Do you guys like set like a certain target though? Like that we're working towards X, for the year on a certain month? Like how do you guys work with that?
Sure. I have a lot of head trash around goal setting.
Dude, like I love talking about this with you. Like this is so I wanted, like, the next question that I was going to have is like head trash around money too, just like personal finance and stuff. Like, yeah,
man, when it comes to that's probably, it's my parents are like, I couldn't ask. I'm the youngest of 7.
Okay.
And my parents were really all over the place with kids. So like my oldest brother was 18 when I was born.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And dude, I couldn't ask for better parents. One thing they didn't teach me was how to manage money.
Yep. Of course.
Completely foreign.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And as cliche as it sounds, like, you can add more money to a shitty system and it's going to disappear.
Dude.
Until you get your head right around it and do what you're doing.
That is a big part of the mission of Systems of Wealth, is that, as I've noticed, as I've battled my own personal relationship with money, I've seen it, like the revenue numbers and businesses that I'm involved in, or just like my own personal consulting. Like I see that continue to grow as I just, like, I've had to, purposely force myself to work through that, because the same sort of thing. I didn't have financial education from my parents. Like that was just something that isn't really available for a lot of us. So I was like, you know what? I got to be that outlet.
Hard knocks.
Yeah.
And it's so goal setting, and so I'm really, really good at goal setting in every aspect of my life except money.
Wow.
And it's like, I'll set an objective. I want to be able to bench this. I want to be able to deadlift this. What do I need to do to make that happen? Where's my weaknesses? And bingo bango, I want to be able to do this. And like, it works out. But when we set up financial goals, or let's just say target revenue goals for the month, both of us, we're just kind of like, and so for us, what's worked for us is we set things on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
And then for us, this is going to sound like a commie statement, money isn't a massive motivator for us. Experience is.
Love it. Awesome. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so if we can tie the financial aspect to the experience of it, then it gets more real for us.
Love that. Yes. I just filmed a video yesterday talking about this, like what's your financial independence number, sort of, in a sense. And I got this from a book that I've read. I don't know if you've ever read this, called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Have you ever heard of this book? Dude, this is a really good one. I think it would probably it would help just like break down some of that stuff. Because the idea of that book is that like people that are, quote unquote wealthy, like they have an abundance of a lot of different things more than just like money. And like the idea
Hmm.
of that book is being very detailed and designing that, like, I want, this is the house that I want to own, the cars that I want to drive, and this and that. And so my whole thing is like adding context to your money goals is what makes it feel real, and it makes it a lot more actionable. Because just
Yeah.
being like, I want $1 million and I want to, see this X, like it's the same sort of thing. Like it doesn't totally drive me, but if you can add real context to the goals, then it makes it much more like, and then you get to experience like whatever that might be like that. I think that book would honestly help a lot because it has really changed a lot for me, like my
I'm
perspective.
going to check it out. I just Googled it.
Fantastic.
And sorry, I was texting. I have an appointment later on, but he's great. He's easy.
Good.
So I was paying attention.
No problem. Yeah, you're good.
Uh, so goal setting,
Yeah.
um, pulling all of that apart with the finances, tying it to something that's experiential for us.
That's great.
And then, so we are not, speaking for my wife and I, like, we're not, sounds so stupid. We're not money motivated
Hmm.
in that we don't want a bigger house.
Yeah.
We have a 2,000 square foot house that we've lived in for 18 years.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Love it.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I have a truck. I love my truck. I've driven
Yeah.
my truck for 5 years.
Yeah.
It gets me outside.
Right.
It goes, I don't drive a lot. Like I live and work within a half mile. My kid's school is like a quarter mile that way. My
That's
house is a
great.
half mile that way. Like
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
for us, it's been about building the life that we want.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very good point for me is I'm better at identifying the shit I don't like than the stuff that I do like.
Wow. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
So
Yeah.
I hate commuting.
Yes.
Hate it.
Yep.
Like won't do it.
Yeah.
So we've built a life around, we have our little bubble,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
beautiful.
everything is within, a 5 minute drive.
Yes.
Because I think commuting is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I'm neither working nor being with my family. I'm
Yeah.
just
The
here,
things that I
right?
love, yeah, that make this life worth living that I want to do.
Not it.
Not
Sitting
it.
in a car, not it.
Yes.
And so what is it that you want to build? So for
Mm.
us, it's we wanted to be stable in a community because both
Okay.
of our parents growing up, my dad was military, her parents were poor.
Okay.
We moved around a lot.
Yeah, certainly.
And for us, stability and community were huge.
Okay.
We wanted to be in a place. We wanted our children to be raised in a place.
Yep. Right.
Experience. So what is the experience that we're crafting? Up until a year ago, we made all three of our kids, our house is a 3 bedroom house, we made all three of our kids share a room.
Wow.
People are like, don't you want to get a bigger house for them? I'm all, no. Why would I get a bigger house for them? They're going to leave in a couple of years. Like,
not about them.
Well, and it's what are they learning through this? They're learning to get along with other people,
Yeah. Right. Wow.
right? Like you
Yeah.
don't just get to shut your door and be away, like
Yeah.
block everything out. You got to
Yeah.
get along with people.
Right.
How do you make that work? Teaching them entrepreneurship and independence.
Mm-hmm.
So our oldest, 12 or 13, she has a little cookie business. She
All
sells
right.
cookies. She's been doing that for 3 years.
Sweet.
She bought her own iPad. She bought her own Nintendo Switch. Like these are things
So valuable.
right. She's doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Love that.
So I want our children to see us. Another one for us is experience. So we live right in downtown Mesa. There's not as bad as California. There's homelessness. There's drugs. There's all of these things.
Right.
Our neighborhood is by no means a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It is also a very downtown neighborhood.
Mm.
I want my children to see difficulty.
Yeah. Realities of life.
Right. I don't. The two girls, they're very pretty little girls. the world just gives them everything they want anyways.
Right.
The worst thing I think I could do as a parent is lock them away in a gated community with other kids that look like them, so
Wow.
they have no reality of what the hell's going on out there.
Wow. That's a really interesting balance between like wanting kids to experience struggle and difficulties, but obviously still wanting to like provide and like give them the dream life that like maybe you didn't get to necessarily experience. It's a really
Well,
interesting balance there.
and the other thing, like, and this is, it's like, I hear that a lot from parents. Well, I'm going to give my kids all the things I wanted. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, key point there. All the things you wanted, jackass.
Oh, wow.
Do you kids want that?
Yeah. Are you listening to your kids? Are you living your life?
Hey, like,
Making
you're
them.
living your best life for
Wow.
them, right?
Dude.
Like,
Wow. Yeah.
and so
Wow.
at the same time, like, we push our kids to do things. They have chores. They have.
Yeah.
It's nothing huge,
Of
right?
course.
Like,
Like, yeah, nothing abnormal. Yeah.
nothing abnormal.
Right.
But I do want them to be exposed to the realities of life.
Nice.
I want them to, and so where I live, the line of work that we're in,
Yep.
how we do it, it all kind of pieces together. And so
Hmm.
I want my kids to be independent, right? I want
Yeah.
them to be able to stand up against the crowd or find like-minded people
Yeah.
that are their tribe, um, and it's gonna be theirs. So for us, our currency as a couple
Hmm.
is experience.
Hmm.
Not all experiences are free, so you have to pay for them,
Certainly.
right? And so you need tying the financial aspect of what we do to the experience aspect of the life that we're living with our kids.
Wow.
uh I'm, and again, not saying we do it perfect, but we're doing it,
Yeah.
right? We're trying to
Certainly.
pull through. Like, we don't hide from our children that we have disagreements. We don't
Hmm.
hide that we have fights. But what we do is we try and model the words totally escaping me right now, reconciliation, that you can be mad at each other, but how do you make it right? Right? Like, I don't want you to just avoid conflict because dad will be mad and I'll just bottle up what it is that I want.
Right.
By all means, let it out.
Yeah. Solve a problem.
Solve a problem,
Yeah.
right? We can't solve a problem that's not stated. And so
100%.
now we focus on, and it's not like we're having it out in front of our kids, but
Hmm.
we don't hide if it
Yeah.
comes up.
Still real. I always
Still
admired that
real.
about my parents. Like they have their fights, same sort of deal. But I always like, because for me growing up, I was like, how can you guys yell at each other and then we can sit down at dinner and like you guys love each other still? Like I couldn't make that. Yeah, I was like, but I like same sort of deal. Like they were and are the best role models. Like I am so grateful to be able to like be raised by them and to watch the way that they operated and to like set an example for a marriage like that. Cause it really like from an early age, I saw that like it's okay to voice and have feelings and be, and have that stuff. It's real, and ignoring that is not going to make the problem go away. It's only going to
Right.
fester and make it worse.
Exactly. And there's so many. Okay, so if I go back to the analogy of the elk behind the tree,
Yes.
there are so many problems that remain hidden,
Mm,
and
mm,
they're hidden because we don't change our perspective. We're not open to changing the way we view it.
right.
And so teaching our kids, like, okay,
Wow.
say what it is you got,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
some of the proudest moments I have as a dad is when they are welcomed into adult conversations
Yeah.
by not my me, but by adults,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
the oldest one, her name is Dagny, that all of her teachers are always at the end of the year. That was, Dagny really comes up and she self advocates. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
Right.
She's clear about what she wants,
Nice.
and she doesn't have a problem approaching authority to request it.
Ah, wow. That's big. Really, really big.
Huge. Like, to
Yes.
me, that's, the world is like, it's opening up to her,
Yes.
right? That
Wow.
she can advocate for herself. And, at the end of the day, no, it's like money. Yeah. And I don't want to minimize money. Like, money is important. I
Of
believe
course.
that there's virtue in it. Like,
Right.
how else does an equitable society trade good for good other than an agreed upon currency? This makes
100%.
sense.
Yeah, it's big. Yep.
It's not the end all, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
want, I will live on through my progeny. And what do I need to do to help them be the stable? And this is a difficult one for entrepreneurs as well. I actually talked to a buddy about it this week. He's having difficulties in his marriage and stuff, and he's like, no, I just need to. I'm by no means a marriage counselor. um, he's like, I need to be more focused on the business so that I can provide for the kids, and they need to see this. And I'm all, whoa, 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 ease up. Realize your kids don't give a fuck about that.
No.
They care, where's dad at?
Where's dad? Why is dad not around? Yeah.
Like down the road,
Wow.
they're not going to give a crap.
No.
They will remember the fact that you weren't around.
Sheesh. That's real.
Yeah. And so, look, and if you're somebody who doesn't have kids and you're like, well, I'm not willing to change that. Cool. Don't. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Like stay focused on your vision.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really easy to sacrifice those relationships, I think, by settling with, I'm doing this for them.
Yeah. It's for you. Let's be
It's
real.
for you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
In that example, like obviously, I don't have kids right now, but like I can, move anything in of like, there's family that's hanging out tonight that like I get to go see, and thankfully. And like, the typical sort of like, gotta be on and working and like I gotta sacrifice. Like that is it's an interesting like the entrepreneurship, like sacrifice like the friends around you that like aren't, on the same wavelength. It's like these relationships are important to me and they serve a certain purpose, and maybe they don't operate the same way that I do, but like that doesn't make them bad people. Like they still get to they deserve my time, and like they have a big like I want to be around them too. It's the same sort of deal. So that's really interesting.
And it's, for me, I spent a lot of time feeling like if I wasn't telling, again, back to the whole like, is business good? No, I don't know. I'm going to tell them how shitty it is so that they know the truth of it.
Right.
The truth is, I have different relationships and different friend groups based off of different things.
Yes.
And that's okay.
100%.
It's okay. Like a good chunk of my friends are, it's odd. Like I have a bunch of really good friends that are pilots.
Really?
I have no desire to fly, right? Like none. Right. It's cool. Like you can fly a plane. Like a couple of them fly for Southwest. One of them is an Air National Guard pilot. He flies the refueling tankers.
Okay.
Some really cool shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they have no idea. Like conceptually, they know what I do, and conceptually, I know what they do.
Yeah.
It's but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good release. Now,
yes. Nice.
Can I go to them and say, hey, man, I'm having a hard time XYZ in my business? No.
That's not your crowd for that.
Yeah. And so having a diversity of crowds is always been important.
Wow. I love that. That's great. That's really good. Okay. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there's one more question that I want to talk to you about. And this is, we wrapped on it a little bit before we hopped on, like you taking some time to go hunting and kind of doing that. Like, how do you balance? I don't even want to use the word balance because I don't necessarily believe in like a work-life balance, but like, how do you deal with, and how has that evolved over time? Because I'm sure like when you first, made that transition to, working full-time or working on your own, being that self-employed, like, and feeling like, God, I got to be on, I got to have the stuff rolling in. It must've been really difficult to like step away. Like you said, like, not sleeping, not eating, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now with where you're at, like, how do you manage stepping away and either like mentally being able to go and do that? Or do you still like, gosh, I need to be there and tied to my desk because I got to run the business? Like, how do you manage that at this point? Like, are you okay with, stepping away?
Not super well.
Okay. Again, appreciate your transparency because that is something that I am actively always, I don't think that ever really goes away. I'm sure you just get better at sort of dealing with it. But
I think so. Yeah. I think that's exactly it. I had, so no, I'm not really good at it.
Okay.
There are times still where I'll be like, well, I'm going to go into the office. Why? Well, I got to go to work.
Because I have to. Yeah.
Who said you have to?
Right. Me.
Somebody somewhere at this one time.
The voice.
That's what dads do. Dads go get up and they're grumpy and they go to work.
Wow. Yeah.
And at the same time, the reverse of that coin of, dude, you don't need to go in. Everything is okay. You can take a couple hours. You're fine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The reverse of that is, I really believe that if you got nothing going on, like one piece of advice that I do give to people around when they start their business, have you ever read the book Big Magic by Liz Gilbert?
No, I've read, I think it's called Thinking Big, but that one sounds new to me. Big
So
Magic.
Liz Gilbert, she writes women's novels like Eat, Pray,
Okay.
Love was
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
her
yeah,
big
yeah.
books. Yeah.
Okay.
Big Magic is all about the creative process. And I read
Okay.
this one years ago. I've reread it. It's top 10 for me.
Nice.
Um, and she talks about the muse and how
Hmm.
different artists approach the creative process. And one of the people that she cites, I can't remember the specific person's name, is like they would get dressed up in their best clothes.
Hmm.
If they were ever facing writer's block, they'd get dressed up and they're like, look, the muse isn't going to be attracted to somebody who looks busted. Like, I got to get up, I got
Hmm.
to put my clothes on, I got to put my makeup on, I got to court the muse. Okay. For entrepreneurs that are just starting out, it's like, I got nothing going on. Okay. Then get your ass up
Yeah.
and do the productive things.
Hmm.
And once you just kind of like get the momentum rolling,
Yeah.
like
Magic. Yeah.
It
Right.
pops,
It's the
right?
same thing like when I don't necessarily like, because I'm again, like I was an athlete my whole life. My big thing, like on a daily basis now, is like, yeah, I get to the gym. And sometimes like I'm tired after I work and I don't want to, but it's the same thing. As soon as I like start doing some jump rope and I get a sweat going, I'm like, oh, I get the groove and it's there and like, got a great lift. That's it.
And it's, see, I love jump rope. I like
Yes.
it's, I'm not
So funny.
really that great at it, but
Yeah.
dude, just like that motion, like there's
Yes.
something physiologically about the motion,
You're
right?
just there and you're present. You got to be like to get that rhythm down. Like you just got to be right there with it. Yeah.
And so turning that off and learning to just say, because it becomes a habit as well,
Hmm.
right? Being able to say, okay, I'm disconnecting now
Yeah.
and I'm going to prioritize this thing. I really believe the worst people you can talk to about marriage advice are people that have been married for 40, 50 years
Why?
because they forgot the struggles that you're going through in the first 10.
Ah,
Like the
wow.
memory of it is like it's all roses now. It's
Right.
fine. It's
Yeah.
gone, right?
Yeah.
You just got to love each other. Don't go to sleep angry. Bitch, please. Like, what are you talking about? Don't go to sleep angry. We want to kill each other, right? And so I bring that up because the right advice, right? Like somebody could be listening to that and going, yeah, I just need to disconnect and let go.
Yeah.
No, bro, you need to focus the F up
Mm.
and get in there,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so learning what skill to toggle on and toggle
Huh.
off
Wow.
in the situation,
Yeah.
that's huge, right? And
Wow.
so and I've kind of, gone this way and that way,
Of
back and forth.
course. Right.
And I would be remiss, no, if I didn't say that the biggest key for me in that component of it, and especially in the startup where you're learning and money is tight, you got to sacrifice. And what I mean by sacrifice for me as a Christian, it looks like tithes and offerings.
Okay.
Like, take it for what it's worth.
Hmm.
One guy's opinion and one
Hmm.
guy's experience. If I am ever struggling financially or lead flow wise, fast, pay a tithe, make an offering. I don't give a crap who you make it to. Shit manifests
Yep.
every time.
Yep. Cause and
Like,
effect. Yeah.
cause and effect. Like, I believe that it's an eternal law, and that if I put other people ahead of me, especially during times of great mental stress like that, I don't know. Let's pretend there isn't a God. Easy for some people to do, I guess. You're learning to let go. You're learning to just, it's a mindset, right? A
Yes.
scarcity
Yeah.
mindset. You're learning
Right.
to just live in abundance.
Yeah.
To me, as a believer, there is a tangible, I am offering this, I'm consecrating this money
Hmm.
as an offering to my God.
Yeah. And that is like the part of like shifting your perspective on it. It's like the same thing with like, yeah, like you just see that like there's something about it because what I've noticed whenever I am in like a mentally feeling like things are tight, it's usually because I'm so focused on me and my own, call them selfish or whatever it is. And then as soon as like
Yeah,
my breaking out of that is like prioritizing, like helping other people get what they want. And ultimately, inevitably, I'm going to get what I want out of that as well.
dude, I It
Lead with
is
the service.
it is
Yeah.
the closest thing to magic I have experienced in my
Wow.
life.
Nice. Yeah.
And so if you're in that position where you're struggling, and again, the good advice out of context,
Hmm.
that's the one piece of advice that I could say has applied from the beginning of our business to where we're at now
Nice.
is consistency of tithes and offering giving.
Wow.
Shit works out, man.
Dude,
Call
that's
it
great.
magic, call it the universe, call it God. I don't care. So yeah, but learning to let go, that is a small aspect of where I better learn to let go.
Yeah. Wow. I say we leave it there. That was perfect. Clint, thank you so much for joining me. This
You
was
bet, man.
such a valuable conversation. Seriously, thank you so much. I really
I
appreciate your
enjoyed it as
time.
well.
Fantastic. That's great. Everybody that's watching, please, if you're on a Spotify, Apple podcast, please leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, still new to this, I think you're like the video,
Sure.
comment, leave us what you liked about the interview. Make sure you subscribe so you see future episodes. If anybody wants to find or hire you guys, it's just longshipsystems.com.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. I'll be sure to link that
It's
obviously
not
and
a
all that
it's not a
stuff.
great website. But it's there.
It's there. Again, Clint, appreciate you. Thank you so
You bet,
much.
Noah.
And
Thanks.
I'll see you guys all in the next episode. Thank you guys.